Just came home and got a bill from FIFA UEFA. What you gonna do? Act a fool! Man, I wanna make 100% profit. What I'm gonna do? Act a fool! Welcome back to the Footy Fetish Show. The fetish is real, the footy is soccer, and sometimes the soccer means straight cash. And I'm back with the man, the coach, Coach Ocho. Yay! What's up, baby? What we doing this time?
Back on the mic. With the mic, Daddy. Mike, glad to be back. This is an emergency episode.
Emergency.
We had to call this emergency episode.
You put the sirens on.
And we got two special guests to help us break down this episode. All the way from Tennessee, Zach Daly. Welcome back to the Footy Fetish. How are you?
Doing well, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Excited to have you on. And all the way from Denham Springs, Doobies and Boobies, pretty boy Parker.
What's up?
Welcome back to the show.
I'm back.
He's back, baby. He's back. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an emergency episode. We've got a really big deal in our hands.
Forgot about Doobies and Boobies.
It's the mixtape, man.
I know.
It's such a great mixtape.
I want to hear it.
It's such a. I gotta go. I'm sure I have that mixtape on a hard drive. I am 100% positive I can find that.
If not, what you gonna do?
Act a fool.
Act a fool.
Depends on how much money you got.
Yeah, exactly.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we have called this emergency episode to talk about the recent crisis. Can we call it a crisis in world soccer?
I think so.
To break it down simply, the 12 most popular teams, not including Parker's Bayern and Tuali's PSG, have separated from FIFA and UEFA's Champions League.
But including Zach's United and Booty's Juventus and Ocho's AC Milan.
Thank you. Yes, can't forget those. We'll go through the teams, and we got to go through the 12 teams.
Will.
We'll go through
Go
those
ahead.
12 teams. These 12 teams have separated from FIFA, from UEFA, the Champions League, and they've created their own league called the Super League. Now, what are the implications here? Where's the money? We're going to get into that. But first, we want to just quickly break down the who's who. FIFA is a global organization that manages global soccer. I'm sure you've heard of the FIFA World Cup. Well, UEFA is right below them. UEFA is a subsidiary of FIFA, and they are in control of Europe. So these clubs play inside of UEFA, domestically and under the Champions League, and they have now removed themselves in kind of a strike almost. The 12 teams. Actually, I'm curious if anyone has memorized these teams yet. I'm gonna
Arsenal, United.
Okay, you're gonna go for
AC
it.
Milan, Juventus, Inter.
You should have just started by try to do it by league because I feel like
Yeah,
it's
do the
easier.
big six.
I would say Tottenham.
England.
I was thinking about people who don't deserve it first. So Tottenham. I know y'all love that.
Oh, shit.
And unfortunately, it's like you got to throw Juventus in there and AC Milan and Arsenal. It's like, other than money, why
I think
are you here?
Did you get Atletico Madrid?
I think that
Okay.
Atletico Madrid.
So you got
and
Arsenal,
Real.
Chelsea, Liverpool,
Barca.
Man City, Man United, Tottenham. Those
Yep.
are the EPL teams.
Yep.
And then you've got Atletico Madrid, Barcelona, Real Madrid. Those are your La Liga.
Yep.
And then you've got AC Milan, Inter Milan, Juventus. Now,
That's 12.
those are the three
2012.
leagues. Okay, you've got EPL, La Liga, Serie A.
Yep.
Spearheading the EPL, you've got Glazer of Man U, and
I
we're
like
going to
the
talk
currently,
to.
by the way.
What's
That's
that?
good. I like the currently.
Oh,
in there, by the
currently,
way.
yes, and we're going
Like
to.
Liverpool currently
That's actually
sixth.
right. That's a good point.
Tottenham seventh.
Most of these teams actually would not be qualifying for the Champions League. But real quick, so you've got Glazer of Man U heading the EPL. You've got I just closed that tab. That's great. You've got Fiorentino Perez of La Liga spearheading of Real Madrid spearheading La Liga, and then you've got Agnelli of Juventus spearheading the Italian league. Now, why did this go down specifically this weekend? Well, I'm going to pass it to Zach here. UEFA just has recently restructured the Champions League. And Zach, can you break that down for us?
Yeah, so the restructuring, which happened over the past 48 hours, that it was announced was Champions League has gone from 32 to 36 teams. And now the way that they're gonna do the Champions League is instead of a group stage, you're gonna have all these 36 teams in a table format, and each team will have 10 total games, 5 home, 5 away. It's not been specifically said how these games will be done, but I have to think it's going to be similar to a draw that you see with the group stages. And then beyond that, if you finish 1 through 8, you're through to the knockout rounds. 9 through 24, you're going to be bumped down to the Europa League. So those are the biggest changes that are happening in that. I think it's the 2023-2024 season when that's going to start.
Oh, wow. Okay, so we've
yeah.
got some time.
Yes.
Okay.
But what's kind of funny about all this is the guys you just mentioned were spearheading these changes for the Champions League as well. So this is kind of when you see, and you'll have to forgive me for not remembering his name at the point where he was coming out and calling, especially the guy from Juventus, just a complete snake. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
What's his name?
It starts with a C.
Yes.
Yeah. It's
Sari something. Sari.
Yeah, I think it's the head of UEFA. Oh my gosh, I just had it up too.
He said
Sefrin?
he said something like Sefrin. Yeah.
Alexander Sefrin.
Yeah,
There's snakes
the
among
UEFA
us.
president.
Yes.
He said
That's right.
he's right.
I mean, that's the other thing. It's like he's not wrong. Like, I mean, especially because like this isn't something that was just born out of a couple buddies getting together over a couple beers and being like, "Hey, let's try this out." This is something that's been done for a long time, and with the financial backing that's coming from it, there's it's shady. It's shady.
It's shady, and
Yeah.
with shade comes money, usually, or maybe
Hey.
the shade is created by the money.
It's one of those
Money
things.
trees, man.
It's not shocking because of what it is, because it's been discussed for years. It's shocking because of the timing, like you're saying, Zach.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys literally just met this weekend and
Yeah.
sat down with UEFA to discuss a different Champions League format, and then rolled this out on them on Sunday. We were joking about it earlier with Gunner Mike. So it's like if I showed up, if I asked Gunner Mike to prom, and I asked him on Thursday to prom, and I showed up to pick him up for prom on Friday night with Ocho, and Ocho had a bankroll, and he said, "Dude, we're going to Commander's Palace tonight." And I was like, "See ya, this is my real date. Peace." It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take it.
These are businessmen that are making billions of dollars, and you can't come out and say, and just be straight up with somebody on a business meeting. It's a straight business meeting. It's fucked up.
Yeah, I feel like the analogy goes even like a little bit further. It's not like you just asked him to prom. You knew about a year ago that you were going to go to Commanders.
You
Like,
dated
you already
his
had
boyfriend
that
before
planned.
that.
I mean,
Yeah.
to add on to that, this has been years in the making. I feel like I've heard about the Super League rumors going on for a long time.
Well, and
Long
it's
time.
This is not like something new that just sparked up. You know that somebody, I don't know if it's Agnelli or Perez or Glazer, one of them has been doing all of the dirty work. And I think
For a long
Perez is the face of it. I don't think he's the mastermind behind it. Before we
No.
get into the money, there's something else to be added on here. FIFA have come out and said that they are going to be going after the players here, which I think that's kind of fucked up. The players really have had no decision in all of this. And now FIFA are threatening the players on these teams in the Super League with the international tournaments.
Yes.
There's a chance, and as well as the Champions
Tell
League.
the folks what you mean by that too. As in, FIFA wants to ban these.
Oh yes,
these
yeah,
players.
right. Sorry to say it explicitly. FIFA wants to prevent these players from participating in the Euros this summer or the World Cup in 2022 or even the Champions League season that's going on right now. There's already talk that Real Madrid, Chelsea, and Man City will all be removed from this tournament. I don't know what to believe anymore.
Yeah.
There's so many accusations. There's so many ultimatums being thrown around. I don't know what's actually going to stick through. All of these contracts are now void, in my opinion.
You know what else is funny about that too? It's like okay, FIFA, we call your bluff. You're not going to have the Euros this summer then? you're not gonna have the semifinals of Champions
It's
League.
just going to
Come
be
on.
missing all the players on those 12 teams.
Yeah, and those teams don't want to miss out on the money.
Right.
Haven't-
It's really interesting. Zach, you had a point.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
heard you.
Yeah,
getting
I'm
it.
I'm just gonna add to something. Like, I mean, the reality is, like, this isn't just a thing that they've talked about and they're presenting. Like, these contracts are signed. They were
Yeah.
signed Saturday. That's just it's kind of what I pulled up now from Perez is like the contracts are binding and they were signed on Saturday. So this is binding. This is moving forward. This isn't like a game of chicken. And so, like you said, with the players, it now becomes, the FIFA is going to ban them all this. I don't see that happening. This is where you'd probably need to have someone with, that knows all the legalese part of this is all of that. But I mean, I can't see them. They're going to be frustrated and try to find out other means to do this. But I mean, I don't see them banning these players long term. Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm at from. And again, like the players, I'd say the players and coaches are in just a horrible spot right now. Of kind of been
Yeah,
this
the
being
coaches
dropped
too.
on them. Yeah.
Right.
'Cause all those big players too. It's like their agents are like, don't speak a word of this right now
Yeah.
because you don't know which way to go.
That's a good point.
Right.
None of the players have come out. None of the players who are in a position of authority or leadership right now in European soccer, Cristiano, Messi,
Yeah, they can't.
none of them have come
Can't
out
say a thing.
and said anything. And I think that's probably the best move for them at this point.
Yeah.
Although of anyone that could speak out and not really have their livelihoods affected, I think Cristiano and Messi are probably the two.
Or maybe Zlatan too.
Zlatan
be like, "Fuck
yeah,
you, bitch."
Well, Zlatan's already under fire for that company that he
his
invested
situation
in.
he's in. Yeah.
He's basically, as far as the news has come out, he has to retire because it's a 3-year ban.
Yeah.
So what is he going to come back when he's 44?
Yes.
You know,
Zlatan would do it.
he probably would, but I think he's probably going on to greener pastures.
Back to MLS.
No, please no.
How dare you.
Stop. Let's not go down that route. Most of you might be wondering, why would they do this? Well, I'm going to pass it over to Booty to break down the numbers for us. Booty, why would a team leave the Champions League to join Super League?
If Real Madrid were to play in Champions League, they make $12 million on 12.5 on participation.
Okay.
Super League, they make $350 million.
Wow.
As far as television rights go, $60 million on Champions League, $202 on Super League. If they win the Super League, they get $250 million. What do they get if they get Champions League? $100 million. The total revenue for all this in the Super League is $802.
So if you participate, the TV deals, and you win,
Correct.
you get how much?
$802 million.
$802 million.
Now, you'd only get $172.5 million for Champions League, and that brings us to the main reason why they want to do this, most of these clubs. It's because they don't want FIFA and UEFA to get their percentages on Champions League. They would get all profits if they had their own league. Things that can be brought up with this that are problems. Do you want all these clubs running a league?
Yeah, conflict of interest is where you go.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't want them picking names from the hat on who gets what group, and me. That's me personally. As a Juventus fan, which I'm also disgusted by it.
Yeah,
I'm all-
especially
you know-
if you're Fiorentino Perez, your team is you are a chairman of this league, and your team
Right.
is in this league.
Right.
You can't think that this guy isn't going to be wanting his team to win so that he can get that $800 million. What was it? 802.
Yeah.
$802 million prize. That's absurd. But with all of this, it makes you wonder. Teams like Bayern Munich, who I'm sure were asked to join this league, why
They were.
didn't they join? I'm going to pass it to Parker for your thoughts and perspective here. What are your thoughts on Bayern Munich not joining into the Super League?
I mean, it's I guess it's somewhat conflicting for me just because, Champions League's always been the time where Bayern gets to go out and show, where they are on a world level,
Wow.
not just,
Yeah.
it's their league sucks. It's them and Dortmund and they go, they always win the league. And so Champions League's always been that time of year where you get to go and see them perform against some of these other big teams. And
Right.
so now that we're projected to see a PSG Bayern final for the next 10 years, potentially it's like, uh, it's a little selfish. I feel on their part. It's immoral. It's you're taking away the fairness of the game. It's like you've got those 6 EPL teams in the Super League that think they're godly, where you know any given Sunday they're losing to bottom table teams. What makes you so good to go play in this elitist league other than your owners have money? It's like some of you suck. Tottenham, you suck. Arsenal, you suck. Like who? Just because you have money, now you're in this elitist group.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I said too, man. Because at this point, what makes you elite? Like
It's
it's
your fan
not the
base.
winning,
It's the fan
Yeah.
base.
right? That's
They're-
it. It's
Right.
the
They're-
money.
You're going
it's-
after the fan base.
it's the
All
fan
of
base.
these teams have large fan bases
Yep.
that will be carried over into the Super League.
It's your legacy.
And I'm legacy. That's another one. Well, I mean, does Arsenal and Tottenham really have much of a legacy? I don't.
No.
Kind of.
Tottenham's got
Had-
that
they
fucking
had
dusty trophy
legacies.
case.
All of these teams have a strong fan base, and that brings up the next point I want to go around and ask y'all. Before the show, Zach, you were saying how if this really goes down, you may not be a fan of Manchester United. Can you just kind of go into that and what that emotion that's kind of invoked from you?
Yeah, so it's what's tough is like at least for me coming from like an American perspective of I didn't grow up as an infant supporting United. It was one of those things to where when I started playing soccer, in my early teens and kind of Beckham was my favorite player, so I immediately became a United fan. That's how that worked for me. So growing up and then getting into the history of the club and things like that, you really come to appreciate the club itself, and it's part of like who you are as a fan. So now, like, and part of that is like knowing that United had to work its way up to be in the Premier League and stay there. And so I don't have that perspective of the English fan that goes there every game and things like that. So it's kind of like I don't what this is gonna do to soccer on a global scale. It takes away a lot of I think I said earlier to Booty, it's like you don't have that story of Leicester anymore. And how great of a
Right.
story is that? And how great of a story is that now? Like they're still top table and fighting for Champions League every season.
Mm-hmm.
To where now you have these teams, and unfortunately it's one of my teams that I love that are going to go into this Super League, and it's essentially like supporting. I don't know if I can be a fan of a club that will destroy soccer as we know it, and kind of what that means outside of like the American perspective of what soccer is. That promotion relegation, and it's earning your way to where you're supposed to be. Like we can shit talk, Arsenal and Tottenham, but they still have to stay in the Premier League. So they still have to earn their place in the Premier League every season, to where this Super League, it's kind of like they could literally be relegated from the Premier League and still be in this Super League. Now, it probably won't happen with the amount of players they can buy with that amount of money. But it's like I don't like what that does. And I just as a fan of that club, I don't know if I can support that going forward. And so I'll be a diehard Leeds United fan then.
I'm down
I
with
mean,
with
and
you.
that's-
Yeah, Forza Marcelo Bielsa. Love that man.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
Booty, what are your thoughts here on your club being in the Super League?
I'm really hurt that they're at the forefront as well. Zach just said it. Both our guys who are spearheading this club or spearheading this whole league. It hurts, and I want to jump on exactly what you just said, Zach, on the piggybacking of it, because it's like you just said, it's hurting football as we know it. And it's funny because a lot of these fucking clubs, if you go look, they're saying, oh, we're expanding the game. You know something?
horseshit.
If you came out and told me that you just want to come out and make some money, and this is where I'm like really hurt by it, to be honest with you. I'm really offended by it. I'm doing like the Bill Clinton thing right here. Like, this is ridiculous to me. If you want to come out and say, we just want to make more money, I would have been fine with that. I would have been completely fine with that. But don't, like, snake around and agree with business deals with people, back out on them. Or, excuse me, not even back out. Just say, I have more money than you, and this is what's going to happen. That's disgusting to me That's disgusting to the whole sport itself. Don't lie to us. Don't ruin the integrity of the game and say that you're trying to benefit this whole game when you're really not. You're trying to benefit your pockets.
Yeah, it's
And
obvious.
It's very obvious. What is the other reason that you feel that you need to be in this other league?
Mhm.
Is it because Champions League, maybe the format's incorrect? Maybe there's not enough. What is the other reason other than we're trying to expand the league? You're trying to expand your fucking pockets. Shut the fuck up. Go home. Take it up your ass. You deserve it up your ass. And that is like the most emotional I'm going to get today, because I feel like everybody has an opinion on it,
Yeah.
and I feel like there's other opinions on the other side.
Oh, there is. I was about to get there.
Exactly. Like, and if it is something that I feel like has legitimate backing to it, I'm totally cool with it. But don't fucking lie. You're lying to people. You're lying to yourself. You're lying to the game, and that's pathetic. And that's how that is. That's how it's going to be. I'm gonna start to look towards Napoli for some love if it
Mhm.
really goes down, because that's pathetic.
Maybe Roma.
Maybe Roma.
Maybe
Well,
Roma.
Roma was asked to do this too. I don't know if they said no or if they just didn't.
Were you
have-
invited to go to the cool
Maybe,
club?
maybe they maybe they didn't have quite what they needed to get into the club. I don't know, but that's pathetic. There's so many teams here that aren't elite to me. Sorry, Hugh. It's been a minute for AC
I know, man.
Milan.
Hey.
It's been a minute for Juventus, so I'll put us on the same
Legacy.
on the same plane.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you.
You've
a
at
quote.
least been in Champions League recently in the last 10 years.
I'll give you a quote that's gonna make all you guys laugh,
Last
and then I'll shut up.
5 years or something.
This is from Norway's coach today, and it's specifically pointing out Juventus and everything they did.
Mhm.
He said, quote, "In recent years, Juventus have been knocked out by Lyon, Porto, and Ajax in the Champions League. Why the fuck should they be in such a tournament then?"
And he said that literally. Why the fuck?
There's a lot of languages in the world. The Norway manager. How do you say fucking Norwegian? He told him. And I'm sorry, same thing with Inter. You came in fourth in your group this year. Champions League.
Yeah.
Liverpool, the fighting man's club, the people's club. You totally turned that upside down. United, as Zach knows, if we go back in history, I tell a lot of people about this all the time that hate United. You can't hate United because going back in the 50s and the 40s, that was the team, that was the working man's club.
Yep.
They got themselves out of that hole. They did it. They had a plane crash that killed half the team.
Mhm.
They did all this. They
Man
came
U?
out of the Man U.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Munich.
Like they
yep.
yeah. And that's one of those clubs for me in the back of my mind. Sure, they make a lot of money now, but they came from nothing, and they're throwing that away to me. So it's disgusting.
Like you were saying, on the other end, right? We're now pissed off at these owners, right?
Yeah.
But does that mean that everyone likes what FIFA's doing? I feel
Correct.
that we also have to address
We do.
FIFA in this story, and not only FIFA but UEFA. And I feel like it's interesting because it wasn't purely FIFA. Agnelli and Fiorentino and Glazer, they all suggested this new format.
Right.
And then FIFA decided to maybe morph it a little bit more. I don't know the details, but clearly there was something FIFA and UEFA did to piss off these managers.
Revenue part.
And I have a feeling it has to do with the revenue, the TV deals.
Shares.
The shares of money. So, we're all sitting here getting pissed off at these owners when FIFA's sitting here like, oh, don't be mad at us. They're the ones that left. Like, no, you have your hands are dirty as well. To prove that your hands are dirty, we just have to say a couple of words. Qatar 2022. How does that actually happen? You've literally changed a traditional tournament to be played in December in a country that has never even competed in the World Cup. How do you say that you're clean in all this? So it's really strange when you look at the dynamic of this entire situation. FIFA, UEFA, and the owners are all dirty hands.
Oh yeah.
And their own greed has backfired on each other and has now it's coming out on us. One of my favorite quotes of this entire saga is, "A game that was made by the poor is now being stolen by the rich."
Yes.
And it's just becoming more and more apparent as to what this is really what's really going on. And I have to bring this up, JP Morgan. I said this, how is JP Morgan mixed into all this?
Oh yeah, tell the crew.
I couldn't tell you. I know that there's a lot of money being backed by. Do either of y'all have any information on why J.P. Morgan might be involved in this?
Yeah, I'm not sure the why. I know the numbers are right around, I think, 4 billion euros.
Yeah.
They're about to give them the money,
Yeah.
Oh, they're going to be funding this.
basically.
Yeah. So I mean, if we look at AC Milan, I know that the owner, or not the owner, the CEO, Gazidis, the fucking snake
Oh,
that he is,
Yeah, he's
he
down.
is dealing with an American hedge fund that are in. They've been in talks with J.P. Morgan. I have a feeling that's the only reason AC Milan are actually invited to the club is because of Gazidis' ties with American investors.
Yep.
And to think that this is just soccer, I think we are naive to think that this doesn't go deeper into some kind of political level here.
Yeah.
This is bigger than soccer, even though FIFA is one of the biggest things on the planet. I'm speechless here. I think we also have to bring up the players in this saga, in that the players now have a decision to make. If we look at this kind of like at a macro lens, these teams have contracts with UEFA to play in the Champions League, and players have contracts with these teams to play for them. So, question for all of y'all: if the team violates their contract with UEFA, as a player, am I now allowed to violate my contract with the team? And I'll pass this around the room. Parker, what are your thoughts on this? Can players just decide to leave teams and do what they want?
There's probably a lot of jargon in those contracts that we'll never see.
Right.
But
It's all speculation.
yeah, oh man, that gets kind of tough. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if once you leave, like if you just decided to leave your club, like would another club be willing to pick you up? If it's, I would think that, again, I'm going back to thinking that this isn't going to fall on the players. I think it's going to just be a lot of bigwigs talking and crying to each other. But yeah, I really don't know what to think there.
If you were a player, would you want to leave your club or would you want to stay?
As a player in one of the 12 teams,
Yes.
oh, I mean, it gives you a chance, I guess, again, for some of the big name players, you'd probably want to stay because you have the potential for I guess, your next contract or your next bonus could be significantly higher than what it was before.
True.
If you're one of those, players, on the line of getting traded or loaned away, and that'll be interesting too to think about loans between like a Super League team and another team. That'll get kind of dicey too. So it's like if you're not performing, do you just get cut? Yeah, it's
Would you stay? That's the question. Would you stay with the Super League teams?
If I was good, I don't know. I mean, there's gonna personally me, I guess I would probably end up staying and seeing
All right.
how it turned.
Fair enough.
Because I guess it's. I mean, are you loyalty to the game or loyal to your team? It kind of gets hard.
How about this? Let me add a little piece on the end. Would you stay and risk not being able to play for your country in the World Cup? Or would you rather leave?
Probably not. If it came to that, then I'd say I'll just go find a new team because that's
fair enough.
I feel like that's a big violation.
Zach, I'm passing it over to you. I'm curious.
Yeah.
You're the. Go ahead.
So FIFA Pro has come out with a longer statement, but FIFA Pro is the union for professional players. And so they've basically come out and said that players continue to get used as assets and leverage in these negotiations. And they've come out and said that that's unacceptable. And they're going to do everything they can to make sure that either side doesn't impede their rights, such as exclusion from their national teams. And that's kind of where I go back and say, if not if this goes through, because it's going through. Like I said, contracts are signed. Um, I think there's going to be longer, probably legal battles, but I don't think it's going to be an issue as far as national teams go. I mean, FIFA's going to hate it, but I think from a legal standpoint, and again, knowing nothing about the legal jargon within FIFA other than what I can see from the FIFA Pro website, is I think it's going to be a very tough road for FIFA to ban players um, from playing for their national teams. If they're playing the Super League, I think there's going to be a lot of players that will have to make a decision, because I think this is going to go down a weird road. To be fair, I don't even know what it looks like, but if I'm a player, it's kind of like it's one of these things of stability, right? So if you're telling me, I think it depends on the age of the player and where they're at in their career. Like if I'm an older player, whatever, pay me money. If I'm a younger player, okay, maybe I want to go with one of these super teams because I'm going to make more money and still play in a pretty competitive league that'll still get me on my national team. So it's from that perspective, like I kind of understand it from a player's perspective. You're still going to have players that kind of come up through the grassroots, but once we get into these Super League teams, it becomes okay. Now this is the max contract I want. I mean, do we compare it to like baseball? When you're a single A and then you kind of move up to the MLB, contracts are going to be different.
It's a good, yeah.
Big difference in those two.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Big difference. You're either riding a bus or a private jet
Yeah.
within one league
Yeah.
with baseball. So, yeah. I like that. I like that analogy.
What do you think?
Man,
You're a player. And I like what you said. I kind of agree with you. I don't think this is going to affect the players on the national team, but if there was that risk that you couldn't play for Team USA.
well, first of all, this is going off of what we
Sorry.
know legally, as both you guys mentioned beautifully as well. This is what we know. Tottenham should never be involved in this conversation, period, ever. Get the fuck out, Tottenham. It's been great knowing you. No, seriously, I don't know why you're elite other than you have money. Forgot to mention that. We made fun of my team, made fun of Hughes, we made fun of yours, Zach. We need to make fun of Tottenham way more. So, sorry. But as far as a legal sense, it's going to be really interesting to see where this goes, because I don't feel like and again, we don't know what is in those contracts the players signed, but it's going to be really interesting to see. I don't think you don't own a player, you don't own a person, and that is the black eye on FIFA. I think that's going to come up in this whole mess, and they know that they don't have a leg to stand on. I think that's why they keep throwing out this nonsense of, okay, well, fine, it's like an upset mom, with a toddler or something. Like, okay, fine, well then I guess you're not getting SpaghettiOs for dinner. Like, it's fine. It's and I hate to like bring it to like a joking thing. I have to, because it is a joke. Like, because I think they don't know that they have that leg to stand on. So they're throwing all this out there because it's a last itch effort to make this league die. And like you said, Zach, I mean, contracts are signed. Lawyers are going to get involved very soon, if not already.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very weird to sit there and say that you can't do this and you can't do that. Unless I see some sort of like legal like paperwork saying that, I don't believe it. Ocho, I know you've been. It's been, the wheels are turning. I can see them.
I'm leaving. I'm not staying with the Super League.
I thought you meant you're leaving the show.
Oh, I'm fucking
done tonight. I'm done. I'm gonna bring it back tomorrow.
All right, there goes my mic. I'm not participating in the Super League. I'm more of I'd rather participate in the World Cup if that comes down to it. Now, if, like Zach said, this doesn't affect me on a national level, you best believe I'm playing in the Super League and I'm collecting that check.
Because think about this.
Yes.
And I hate to interrupt you.
No, it's fine.
We're talking Arsenal, Tottenham,
Yep.
AC Milan, let's say.
Okay.
Let's even throw in Juve, a couple
All right,
others.
Thanks. Appreciate that.
How many of those players are World Cup starters?
For
To
AC
say if
Milan,
it's not that many-
it's not a lot. I can probably...
You got a full squad then. You can win the whole thing.
Interesting. If that is an issue.
Right.
If you're scaring players away because of
Right.
national team, hey.
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 That's hot.
That's hot. That's a hot take. Just quickly looking up some more facts here. We said the most likely reason for why they did this was because of money, and we got to remember the time that we're in. This is the pandemic. A lot of clubs are hurting right now
Got to make up for it.
because of this pandemic. Of these teams, looking at who is in debt, Parker and Zach, if you guys had to take a guess, if you don't know already, Parker, who do you think of these teams is in the most debt? Parker, your mic's off. There we go.
You can hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I was literally about to chime in with some facts on the financials of some of these clubs right now.
Go ahead, do it. I was trying to get there. Go ahead.
And it ties into not only are they probably the worst club in the 12. I'm looking at Tottenham with that debt.
Yes.
So I saw
Ding.
that of the 12 teams, they have a combined 5.6 million in debt, which raises up to 7.4 billion euros if you include the debt that is owed to like staff and tax authorities, suppliers, stuff like that. So it gets pretty high. But by UEFA's definition, of the original 5.6 billion, 3.5 is financial debt and 2.1 is transfer debt. So
This is Tottenham by themselves.
this is total. This is of
Oh,
the 12,
okay, I got you.
of the 12 teams.
Oh,
yeah.
gotcha.
So
Gotcha, okay.
so what it's saying
Jesus.
is that almost all of the financial debt comes from banks compared to only 3.3 billion comes from banks and only 0.2 billion comes from owners, which is kind of interesting. And then they're going to go and borrow another 3.5 billion from JP Morgan. So they're really banking on turning this around after being,
Pun intended.
looking at the high end, 7.4 billion in debt. Let's go borrow another 3.5 billion and
Fire Jose today. How
let's-
much they paid him?
Shit.
So
yeah,
they have to pay out the contract, right?
Yeah, so Tottenham were they're as of, and this was the 2019-20 numbers, but they were sitting at 970 million euros in debt, with so Tottenham being the most and Man City being the least.
Interesting.
Ugly ass girl at braces. You don't ask the proms. Tottenham. So
But she does butt stuff.
I could tell you, Juve was in trouble. What were they, 3?
It looks like they're third on the list.
Part of that is
That was
because you
dubious.
paid Ronaldo's old ass 100 mil. So that's
Yeah.
also on you.
That's right.
I was gonna guess Barcelona was up there.
Are they? Yeah. Yep.
Barcelona looks like they're
Second.
1, 2, 3. I have them at. So we must have different
Yeah,
numbers. here.
I'm looking at 2019-20, so you might have
This
some
one-
more recent numbers.
This is per June 2020.
Per the
Okay.
BBC.
So I think maybe a little, but not really. We're almost in June. We're a couple months.
I feel
away
like
from June.
BBC wanted to hammer hard on Tottenham and United, though.
Yeah,
right?
go figure,
Yeah.
right?
I'm looking at a Swiss source. They're
Uh-oh.
they're neutral, so.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, so in all of this, we've got to look to the future. What does this mean for the sport of soccer? Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Is it necessary to help the sport move forward? Because we're looking at all this debt. This is a lot of debt. If they don't go through with this Super League, how long can these clubs
Maintain.
how long can they maintain? How long can the sport itself? How do you punish a team like this? You know what this feels like? This almost feels like the banks being bailed out back when the fucking housing market crashed,
Yes.
right? And if we look about
Hated
J.P.
that,
Morgan way back in the day, if we look into history, he was responsible for bailing out the USA before the banks got involved.
Yep.
His own personal bankroll, mixed with Rockefeller and one other guy, were responsible for bailing out the U.S.
Yep.
So it makes you wonder if this is something that they did because they had to, because they were just at a point of failing, and rather than let the banks fail, rather than let these teams fail, which are basically banks, J.P. Morgan stepped in and was like, "Here's a whole bunch of money, keep going." Why now?
Yeah.
The pandemic has got to play a role in this.
Yeah.
If enough teams are squeezed so tightly, who is funding them? Are they now hurting? I just
Then UEFA should come in and help them.
maybe, but does UEFA have money?
But they're not. They're just taking more. So maybe
this is
So maybe
that's
this is
right.
where this is going. Just to give those clubs a little clout.
So okay, so let's go.
You know they're
around.
not helping them.
Do
put it
we
that way.
think this is good long term for global soccer as well as European soccer? Who wants to take this? You want to go first?
I'll go first.
You go first.
No,
You don't think so?
no.
Why not?
Because if you're starting something just from scratch, we all know that costs money.
Yes.
It's going to cost way more money than what you're claiming that you're going to make.
You're
This is
literally,
also claims.
you're literally
this-
taking a $3.5 billion loan to get this thing
Exactly.
started.
We're starting on a $3.5 billion loan to even get this started. Not to mention, it's a bunch of guys who already are in the hole. Do you want to hang out with guys who already are on loan as well? What is this? 11 teams, right?
12.
12.
Oh, the teams that are
12
in debt.
teams that are in debt.
Oh no, there's 11 in debt. Apparently Chelsea are actually positive.
Oh, look at Chelsea. And I don't even know how that's possible. But again, it's Chelsea, so I don't ever understand how anything's possible at Chelsea. But they make it happen.
The note here says net financial debt is calculated summing current and long-term loans and borrowing minus cash revenues and interest.
After just spending about $100 million last summer. So again, I never understand what happens with Chelsea, but it happens.
Chelsea has a shitload of players on loan.
Oh.
They always have a
Getting that
ton of players
Getting
on
that
loan.
profit back.
And I have a feeling, it's fees plus the obligation to buy in the contract. I'm sure they're including that in here.
They're doing it.
So another thing I'm realizing that we never got to talk about is how does this affect the domestic leagues?
Kills them.
Does it? Do you
According
think
to FIFA,
Do you think FIFA will exclude these teams from domestic leagues?
they want to.
I know they want to.
We'd have to see where it goes to court, of course. Go ahead, Zach.
So I think that isn't necessarily determined by FIFA, but it's determined by their FAs.
Right.
So
Yes,
obviously
you're
the
right.
English FA. So when this originally was done and they proposed a Super League, it was these teams were staying in their leagues.
Yes.
So I think the English FA, Spanish FA, and I think the Italian FA are trying to stick together, and I may have even had a joint announcement of like these teams, will not, they cannot play in this league. But again, contracts are signed. So what does this mean? And so it's, again, we've not seen anything like this that I know of. And so what's going to happen domestically to these teams, we'll never know. But it's like the other side is they may not even care. Because even if it almost feels like these teams are somehow going, even I guess from like, even if I think from a United perspective, like it's almost like they're going to play above. And we kind of talked about, okay, where do you allocate your roster to? Meaning, if I've got a game on Saturday and a game on Wednesday, if one league is worth, and I forget what we said the Premier League number was, it's not $800 million. I'm going to allocate my roster to win the $800 million trophy versus the maybe $150 million trophy with the Premier League.
Good point.
And so it's kind of, it becomes, I don't know the future of this until, because I know that what's being called for are massive sanctions. I think what I read yesterday was if they were to do this and United was removed from the Premier League, and let's say the Super League folds, in order to get back in, they've got to start in the 5th division.
I did see that.
I did see that as well. Yeah. If they want to come back, they've got to start at the bottom.
So it's how does this work out? And that's kind of where I think all four of us are kind of like even talking and trying to, even for me, I apologize if I'm not as clear as I want to be, but you're trying to like mentally think through these decisions and with the clubs, like surely these guys have contingency plans because these contracts are signed. I keep going back to that. Like this isn't something that's like, oh my gosh, can you believe they're even talking about this? It was talked about and they all got together Saturday and we're like, now let's go ahead and sign this and move forward. And so it's, how do you not expect there to be backlash? And did you already plan for it? And do you have a treasure chest of cash to kind of pay these FAs now? Is that part of the loans to pay these FAs to make good? It,
I mean, you could imagine that the FAs, they're going to have to pick. I'm not sure if they're sanctioned under FIFA or UEFA, but
it's
um,
it's that breakdown, right? So it's FIFA, UEFA, FAs.
okay,
Mm.
gotcha. So as far as that hierarchy is concerned, the FAs are going to listen to whatever FIFA says.
Right.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, they might have a decision, but really they don't. I don't think they really do. They have a decision in this? That would be
Uh,
something interesting to find out. These are all questions that I'm asking because I'm curious. I mean, this whole thing, like you said, Zach, we don't know a lot of the answers. They're going to continue to unfold. I'm just
Mhm.
going to keep asking them
Yeah.
because I think these are questions that are just interesting to talk about.
And
you know?
do we
I love speculating about this.
do we start
Yeah.
seeing court cases with every single player contract that's been signed?
How do you not?
Yeah. Like,
I
'cause I
mean-
love how you keep bringing that up too. because-
Contracts are signed.
Yeah.
Now, does the contract signed with these teams, does that automatically include these players? Do the players get any say? Because the players' contracts,
Whole mess.
how are those tied into the Super League?
And a bunch of billionaires with debt are just
Just signing away.
let's do it. Let's do it.
this is-
Let's see where it goes.
How much debt can we sign ourselves into?
But this is better for the game. Keep in mind.
So yeah, let's get back to that. Personally, I think for the longevity of the game, this might actually wind up working out. Just because this pandemic has put so much of a financial squeeze on the sport itself. So I think in the long term, this might actually work out. Just because we might find out that everything was about to fall in on itself because of all the money that was owed.
Champions League.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm literally the
I can see that too.
metaphor, the analogy just hit me in this episode that this is so similar to the banks failing.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that they were willing to admit that they were failing as quote unquote banks, quote unquote clubs. All of these teams are suffering. All of these teams are suffering. I don't care what any of them say. They are all hurting right now. Arsenal just released 55 staff members. You can't tell me they're not hurting? And then all of a sudden they go and sign this deal. They get some $200 million. Like, these guys are desperate. These guys are desperate.
But were they let go because Lacazette needs to make his 100 mil?
That's money. At the end, they don't have enough money. Is it at the end of the day?
Right,
you know what I'm
right.
saying?
You shouldn't have signed that fucking deal then.
Parker, what do you think this? Do you think this is good? Do you think this is bad? Long term, short term? Give us your thoughts on this.
I mean, I guess it could turn out to be like you said, thinking optimistically, it could be sort of like a Robin Hood situation where these teams, pull in, get all this money, and then save soccer somehow. But I just don't see how, all the teams that are not in this league that depend on, sadly, they're depending on these big name teams to bring in revenue for, their leagues and so it's all these teams are hoarding all the revenue, whereas obviously Bundesliga is going to be all right because no teams are joining. Same thing with French league, but you you know look at La Liga. It's like, I mean, you're going to have your diehards that are going to still support their clubs, but it's reality that Barca and Real are the money makers for your league.
Right.
And so it's like, yeah, we're not going to suffer anymore, but you guys still might. Good luck.
And this is where maybe the teams will put pressure on the FAs to allow these other clubs to stay in the domestic leagues.
And
Because,
then,
like you're saying, they're relying on these clubs being in there to generate revenue.
yeah, and I even saw like the La Liga FA came out and was like, oh yeah, we're not gonna punish them. They can still play in domestic because
Yo.
they're very confident that this isn't gonna happen. So they're like, we're not even gonna go through
Ah.
we're not going to go through the trouble of trying to kick them out when we're not even convinced that the Super League is going to happen. But yeah, it's very optimistic I mean, we look at the beginning of it, they're like, oh, we're just going to throw this league together, make a couple extra bucks by playing, a midweek Champions like esque game. Everyone's going to love this. But then you got to think about, like Zach said, you think you know, teams that play all these games, it's not sustainable for the players. And so you're going to start seeing, you know, you're not going to see that A team come out every week for every competition. It's going to be, they're going to reserve themselves for, their Super League games and stuff like that. So, unless you just like hoard a bunch of players, and I mean, with the money that they're potentially going to make out of this, it seems like they will be able to pay more players, and you might get, enough to where your bench is better than, half the teams in the Premier League or another league. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, if it worked out to where they could still participate in all the other competitions, I think I'm okay with that. But don't start threatening, players had nothing to do with this. Coaches had nothing to do with this. They're just owned and collect a check. They're doing a job. They don't have say in anything at the corporate level. So you shouldn't have to punish them, and it would be a mistake for UEFA and FIFA, because you're by limiting them, you're hurting yourself.
Yeah. Yep. I would agree. Zach, long term, short term, what are your perspectives and thoughts on this whole thing?
I'm gonna use a term that my friends kill me for, so hopefully they'll appreciate. It is and it isn't. Um, I think as a fan, in the way I stand now, I don't think it's good. And from a perspective of soccer not just being a moneymaker, but like a global outreach thing. And so you look at like clubs that go and play. I think we what we haven't taken into consideration too are like the domestic cups. So that means they're out. These teams are out of those games too if they were to go away. And so you're telling me a Tranmere Rovers, who gets a
West
lucky
Ham.
draw against United, and host them at home, and are going to sell massive amounts of tickets. Or they're going to lose out on that, because the other side is this: the turn of the year, or at the end of the fall, hopefully we're back to full capacity. And so now we're talking about, okay, the pandemic's hopefully over, or in a much better place, and we're allowed to have fans. So it's now there's not that draw anymore. So you don't have a Liverpool going and playing, a Division Two side, or these teams going and playing in these domestic cups anymore, and that draw is gone, and that TV revenue is gone. So we're not just talking about Premier League; we're talking about it filtering through the rest of the leagues. And I'm speaking mainly on an English level, because that's the one I understand the most. This happens in Spain, Italy, France, and Germany. And so I think from that perspective, it's not good. I think from a long-term perspective, I think you may see, as far as the dominant leagues, you'll have Super League, and I think you'll have the German League. And then the rest of it kind of falls by the wayside. I think this is bad for player development. I don't even know. We bring up the term contracts. Okay, so I've got a kid playing for Manchester United in my Manchester United academy. Where does he go on loan to? How does that work? And these are things I'm sure that they'll work out, but I think it's not. I don't think, my personal view is it's not good long term. Now I'll do the other side of the coin. So okay, we want to do this Super League of 15 established teams and then 5 teams that kind of come in on a yearly basis based on their merits in the past year. So you're telling me United is going to play, this team one week, this team the next week, here, and here. So it's not like United's playing Burnley, United's playing this team, this team. It's games that are like top level games that you want to see every week, right? And so from that side of it, as a fan, I go, yeah, that's kind of cool. You mean United's going to play, AC Milan twice a year at least, and go from there? It's like, yeah, I'm into that. So I get it from that perspective, and this is gonna be called an Americanized, league, because that's how I see it. And so, and then I try to think long term with this league. I think they were smart in saying there's going to be 15 established positions. Okay, so now does this go global? Are these brands that are now global brands, part of what they're looking at probably doing is playing some of these games in America, in Asia, South America. Okay, cool.
Wow.
Why don't we
Never thought of this.
include as one of these
Wow.
5 teams Santos? Why don't we include as one of these 5 teams Atlanta United? Why don't we include as one of these 5 teams the winner of the Chinese division? Why don't we include wherever else they want to go now? So now I've got Atlanta United playing, and now we're talking about now they have the money too for that season. So it's gonna be interesting because right now we're talking about it on a European level. I think these guys are probably thinking on a global level,
Yep.
and that's why they said, "Hey, 15 teams are going to be solid. Those other 5, we'll figure out who that's going to be." And so, 5-10 years from now, we kind of restructured it. Well, now we're playing on a global scale. So now we're going to try to bring in these other teams in leagues and things like that. Because 5 to 10 years from now, we may be talking about that the German teams are actually in there now, but there's only like 1 or 2 of them in per season in those 5 slots. So I don't love it, but I understand why. I don't love it though. From a money perspective, like you said, as far as these teams in debt, like it's that, but this is what happens when you have guys in charge that aren't football guys, right? These are business guys that are just trying to grow a brand.
Dude, 110%. And I love exactly what you said on 2 aspects right there. Because we just mentioned it. I was bitching about it earlier. If the excuse is that you want to grow the brand, you want to grow the sport, cool. Let's get Club America in there.
Yeah.
Let's get fucking Boca Juniors in there.
Yep.
Let's fuck around. Let's get River Plate. Let's do it then.
Yeah.
But it's not where it is right now. Maybe it could get there. It could get there maybe. So just giving them a little positivity on that side. But also something you touched on, Zach. Why don't you just let everything work itself out and see what happens when the fans are back? The fans are gonna pay to go to those games.
Top dollar.
And you can put whatever price you want on it. So don't act like you're not gonna get that money back, because you will.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean,
when it will be, sure, we don't know. We don't know an exact date. So, gee, you need your money now? I don't know. But no, go ahead, Zach. I'm sorry.
the other thing that just kind of pops in my mind too is we talked about a little bit of like, this isn't on the players. It's on their It's on their, managers, right? Like, I mean, why are we asking this much money for players? And so it becomes the contracts, and like, have we put these teams in this position by doing this, of these bidding wars of, Neymar being worth X amount, Holland being worth X amount, and it's absurd numbers, And so has this just been a thing that's always going to happen?
And that's the problem with all sports, I feel, athletes just make a shit ton of unnecessary money, but it goes back to selfishly, it goes up the pyramid to where, I'm paying you this much money because you're making me way more money.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're not paying you for nothing. Like, someone's benefiting off of, this huge contract. But yeah, if you scale everything back down, the people that are hurting are, the players are going to take the worst of it, because again, they're getting paid less. Everyone up the ladder is getting paid less, so then everyone else suffers on the way down. So it's just kind of like, this has been trending up and up and up and up, and where does it end?
Yeah, one thing I'm just realizing is you have to think about imagine a team that was in the championship, the second division in the EPL, and they're sitting in first place right now in the second division, and the owners are already sitting there anticipating the money that they would be making if the Premier League is the same Premier League.
Mm-hmm.
If these teams are not allowed back in the Premier League, this second division team that just made it up to the first division, they're not getting that same contract that they would have had these 6 teams been in there. This is under the situation that those 6 teams in the EPL are not back in the EPL. But I'm just realizing the trickle effect is not just that first division, and like you said, Zach, it goes into the domestic cups.
Yep.
That one game where you have Man U at your house,
Yeah.
that is a lot of money. But
It's a ton of money.
imagine getting back into the first division. All of those teams you get to play again. If 6 of those teams are gone, that's 6 games where you lose all of that revenue.
Yep.
And then are the TV deals as strong as they are without those 6 teams? Does NBC, are they still airing those games on the weekend?
Paramount Plus still have the
Yeah, does anyone really watch the EPL without those 6 teams in there? Maybe, but it's not going to be as big of a following. It makes you wonder if this is all going to really go down, and I think that's actually where it kind of leads me to my last question. This would be a great way to end it is, do you think this will actually happen? I guess is just the most plain. I know, Zach, you've said it over and over. Contracts have been signed, but we saw the contract signed with UEFA from team to UEFA, and they're breaking it. So, what does a contract really mean here? And I guess I'll start it off. I'll pass it to Booty. Do you think this actually goes down?
I would say 40% of me thinks it will.
40.
Because
Bold.
he who has the goal makes the rules, right?
Yeah.
Because if it comes down to it at the end of the day, where they all just band together, all these 12 teams that we're talking about, those 12 teams are the reason FIFA exists at this point.
They control a lot of the TV market share.
Right. So what if they just all stood up and said, no, we'll take you to court on whoever comes up to me with a contract that you say that can't play in a World Cup or this or that. What if, they have the money to possibly beat those lawyers, but at the same time, the repercussions of all of it, the other 60% of me doesn't think it's going to happen. So I would say in the long run, it doesn't happen just because of the trickle effect. And those 12 clubs don't care about the trickle effect, apparently.
No.
And I think think about it. We're talking about almost every club in the world at this point that's behind the back of UEFA and FIFA. And going back to what you said, I'm not giving UEFA or FIFA any pass because their hands are dirty too, and they've been dirty for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not the little angels to me either. But man, I gotta say it's not gonna happen, just because. But also, I don't know. There's so much money involved in those clubs, and that's why FIFA exists. It's tough. It's so, there's so many roads to go down, and we went down almost every single one. I think in this episode,
I feel like we could talk for another 2 or 3 hours.
We could go another hour.
Yeah, we could totally do that.
As of right now, if UEFA and FIFA came out and took them to court, I don't know what's in those contracts that these players have signed, and I think that is the key to opening up everything we don't know. Because maybe in those contracts it says, hey, if you want to go off and form some other league, your contract's terminated, irrelevant, you owe us X amount of money, whatever. If that's in the contract, then sure. But I also feel like UEFA and FIFA are losing ground, and that's why they keep throwing these little almost like bait out there to see if they're going to call their bluff.
Because they didn't say they will be banned. They said could be banned.
Right.
They chose their language very carefully.
Ain't like they don't want to cancel a fucking semifinals of Champions League.
No. Yeah, right.
With Real Madrid playing, who's Real Madrid playing again?
Chelsea.
Chelsea.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ! Oh, come on. Come on.
All right, let's pass it over to Parker. Parker, do you think this is actually going to go down, the Super League? Or give us a percentage of yes to no.
I give it like a 90% chance of happening.
Whoa! You're confident. Why are you confident?
I feel like you don't just sign these contracts. You don't just go and get a $3.5 billion loan. They've got, like we keep saying, they've got the leverage. They're the money makers. So I'm with it. The false threats by the losing side of this deal. They're in it. I think now they're just kind of they're kind of just winging it. You know, they came in, they're like, okay,
Yep.
we got these 12 teams. We'll get a couple later. We've got these fucking Willy Wonka golden tickets. Come play with us. It's like they're just figuring it out as they go. It's like uh, it's crazy because I mean, there had been. I guess the bigger issue is that I think we're seeing a lot of you know, coming from FIFA and UEFA, we're seeing a lot of backlash there because I mean they were pretty much just left out of all the conversation. It seems like there's no, you know, okay, well we're gonna come up with this schedule, we're gonna do this. Well, how are we gonna, you know, are we gonna come up with how are we gonna come up with you know, maybe potentially restructuring the leagues? It's just been, you know, the way they went about it is very selfish, but I don't think you get to this point where you're signing contracts without, you know, Super League's probably got their own lawyers looking into this, going through like all these contracts saying, okay, well, you know, they might come back here, they might come back here, but I mean, as far as pushing this forward, they're not going to be able to stop us. So I don't think they'd go through this whole, you know, waste of time and honestly, I mean, we see how controversial it is. You know, social media has completely blown up today. I think, you know, Biden could have bombed another country and it'd be second tier news to this. So, you know, I, I, I give it that high percentage. Whether I agree with it is another thing, but you know, I just
Right,
don't think
right,
they
right.
go through all this trouble and stir the pot if it wasn't.
This is true. This is true. If they did, there would have to be some kind of money for it, money for them on the other end, via FIFA and UEFA. And I just don't think it's going to equal $3.5 billion, like
N-
you're saying.
No, I think it's probably more of that, you know, they probably came back and said, "Hey, we'll compensate you a little bit. You know, we're gonna break you off a little something for your troubles. You know, we know we're taking all the powerhouses here, most of them. So, you know, that number probably isn't the one that they wanted to see."
I hate to bring up this example, but this reminded me of one of the bookkeepers I worked with. She was helping to manage books of where I was working, and she was overworked, and she knew she was overworked, and we all kind of knew she was overworked. And she asked for I think she asked for a 50-cent raise. But the thing was, is she knew the books. She knew that at the time, I forget what was going on, but there was a negative. Everything was in the red, and she was asking for a raise when the company was in the red. And because the company really appreciated her, they didn't give her a 50-cent raise. They gave her a 15-cent raise. And that for her was not enough. So she didn't even give 2 weeks. She just got up and left and just walked out. And it kind of made me think about that situation you're just talking about with these clubs in FIFA and UEFA. They might have said, hey, we need more. And FIFA might have said, this is all we can give you. And they said, all right, fuck it. Let's go to JP Morgan. He's going to give us the money we need. And then they bounced. That's actually a pretty plausible scenario. I'm going to pass over to Zach, though. Zach, percentages of what you think is going to happen. Yes, no. What do you think?
I think it's for me. It's going to be pretty high. It's going to be 95% happening. And I think the way that I would love to see it in my head would be that it does happen, because I think this is inevitable. Like I said, I've echoed it several times. The contracts are signed. It's $4 billion in that contract is signed.
Yeah, that's a good point.
What I would, if I am right, what I would love to see is for people to get behind this actual supporters of the club that hate this and do not watch this league and do not support it in
Ooh.
any way.
Ooh.
Problem is with it being global. I think that's, if you want to fight back against this, it's no longer being a United fan. You no longer being a Chelsea fan, Juve, AC, any fan like that. Go and support the supporters of that club and see what they do. And still keep that as your home base, to fight back against this. Because here's the deal: if this falls through, and they have to come whimpering back to their FAs, and United's got to start in the 5th division, well, I'm a United fan in the 5th division, and we'll work its
Well
way
said.
back. But as it stands, and if this goes through, unfortunately, I've got a relic Wayne Rooney jersey hanging in my closet now, and so. I may come back, 5 years from now and listen to this and be like, it was a bit harsh. But as it stands right now, man, I cannot support what this is going to do going forward.
Yeah, that's well said. The whole contract, man, I can't get past that, but I'm still like a 50-50. I'm closer to you. 40% yes, 60%
Because we don't know
no.
what's in those other contracts.
Yeah,
because these contracts they sign are null and void.
Right.
If there's something in those other contracts,
And I feel like I remember them. I feel like I remember some type of specific wording in this contract saying it's not like a for sure contract in the Super League.
FIFA's gonna be sneaky.
Basically saying no, this is with the Super League and these 12 teams. Saying that there was it wasn't like a for sure set in stone. We can create a contract and say that I'm going to give you $3.5 billion and we can both sign it. And then if we both agree to terminate the contract, then I don't owe Booty $3.5 billion.
Exactly.
Not to say that would happen, but I feel like I forgot. I wish I could find this. There was somewhere where I read it and I was like, that doesn't seem like the contract as locked in as you would like it to believe. So this is where I'm like flipping a coin here. Like, I have no idea. I'm going to go 50-50 here. And Zach, you look like you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I think what I go to is I think sometimes in our heads we're like, these guys are idiots.
All the time.
Yes.
But the reality is these guys are in some of the best positions in the world.
Right.
And are the heads of some of the best
Yep.
clubs in the world and have got there for
That's
some
true.
means.
Yep.
So to think that they
Wasn't
haven't
luck.
had this planned out and have contingency plans. I think Hugh, I just sent you probably on Instagram some quotes from Perez earlier today. Like that, a lot of those quotes to me just sound like this is going forward. Like I said, that quote about it sticks in my mind of we all it's like a blood pact. They got together on a Zoom call, had a seance. And signed these contracts all at once. So that's man, I keep going there.
We should start off the show with you two, with or without you. So, that's what we should do the next one.
And to think on the
Sunday
Sunday
other
Bloody
side,
Sunday. Yeah, we could do that one too.
you got to think that if FIFA and UEFA are threatening, these clubs from participating and the players from participating in anything else, think about the legal battles on the other side where all of these clubs and players are suing FIFA and UEFA because maybe there's nothing in the contracts preventing them from competing. So it's like, are FIFA and UEFA prepared for that legal battle and draining more money away from them to fight them from wanting to play in their leagues and competition?
Yeah, I'm still, I'm almost in more disbelief than everything because of all the facts we've talked about, and there's very few facts that are actually out there right now. All the facts that we have talked about, there's too much money, these clubs are in too much debt, and
but they're worth so much
they're
at the
worth
same
so
time.
much.
So
Yeah.
it's like,
and that's the thing. It's like we're not talking about Burnley, Genoa.
Right.
We're not
Right.
talking about Villarreal. We're literally talking about, as of now, the 12 most popular, most followed clubs in the world. Like, that's the crazy part to this. Like,
Yeah.
we're not talking about a group of like mid-table clubs that were like, you know what, we're gonna do what we want. It's like, cool guys, go ahead, we'll see you later. It's these are the money movers.
it's cream of the crop.
Yeah, it's
Minus Tottenham.
and Arsenal at this point.
I'll leave
Sorry,
it,
Mike.
yeah, I'll give Arsenal a hall pass today.
Yeah.
It's probably best we didn't invite Gunner Mike on this.
I know. I
episode.
feel
I
bad.
know.
Man.
Sorry, Gunner
He
Mike.
was
I think
very
the
excited to
last
see
one
what
I
we're
was
gonna
on, I
say about
absolutely
this, too.
ripped.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I mean,
just
I ripped my own club today. So
just doing some quick investigating on Instagram. I just wanted to look at followers, right? So Bayern Munich has got 26.3 million followers. I'm going to go over to Milan real quick, and 9.7. So right there, that should just give you an idea of, popularity here. I'm going to go to Real Madrid. I'm pretty sure that's probably the highest one, if it's not Man U.
I was gonna say Juventus just because half those people like
97
Ronaldo
mil.
before they ever like Juventus.
Real
Get
Madrid,
him off the train.
97 mil. Juventus will go over there. 48 mil, not even close.
Nope.
Barcelona has got to be second or first in my mind, 95, so they're
Mm.
second.
Mm.
Looking at Manchester United.
Oh man, that's got to be it.
No.
100.
No, I'm thinking 70,
Think it's 70.
40.
40.
40.
So
Whoa.
really Real
killing it.
is really dominating. Should I even look at Man City? Should we even look there? I'm going to guess like 20 or 30.
Squirt. Go get some oil.
23.
Yeah.
So, just looking at those clubs really quickly, Bayern is actually in third. Let's look at PSG, because actually I would be shocked if PSG do not have a lot of followers with this is nostalgia.
they've got
the-
the Jordan.
They've
the
got
whole
the
thing.
two, the Jordan. They've
Everything.
got the
They got
two
the
youngest
fashion.
players. Wow, 34.
I
So
thought a lot more.
this is shocking. I mean, if we just look at those clubs right there, just right off the bat, those are probably the most popular clubs in the world. They've got millions of, that went in my Dr. Evil voice, millions of followers. The future is unknown at this point. All we can do is speculate, and that's exactly what we wanted to do today. Just speculate about some few facts that we had. The J.P. Morgan funding campaign of $3.5 billion for a Super League. That's really all we know, and the 12 teams that are going to join it. Other
Obama
than that,
will come bail you out.
I mean, yeah.
Oh, political joke there.
Booty. Do you guys have anything else to add here? Doesn't look like it.
I think
But Parker. Go
I
ahead.
think the JP Morgan thing is like I think there's more behind it, like you said. I could speculate on, if it's just them putting their name on it, but it's a bunch of banks getting in on it. It'll be interesting. But I mean, if I'm in that position of looking to fund this, I'm like, fuck yeah, I've got like $3 trillion. I will definitely fund, the biggest sport in the world with the best teams in the world and a global presence.
Damn. When you say it like that, what is
Yeah.
$3 billion inside $3 trillion?
It's like a
Right.
weekend party for some of those guys.
Right.
Like, for real.
Yeah.
Jeez.
He's probably been looking for an in there forever. And he's like,
Pavilion.
Talk about a return on investment, too. What do you think this $3.5 billion is going to return for him over the next 10 years?
2-3%.
Maybe. I mean, just imagine the percentage of return on that,
Yeah.
Anyway,
Jeez.
Booty, I'm going to pass it over to you to close it out here.
Mini-me, can I get you an Eggo? A Hot Pocket?
A hot pocket.
I don't hate Obama for everybody listening. Jesus. It's a joke. Anyway, it's time to close this thing on out. We give the shout-outs to the people who need them the most. Who need to shout out for you, Ocho?
I'm going to shout out to all the fans out there of the beautiful game that we all love. I think we are hurting the most, and at the end of the day, the game is played for us. It's for the fans. I hate to be selfish there, but it is. It was originally built by poor people to, I would imagine, to kind of keep spirits up and to kind of create some kind of entertainment, and it's now turned into this billion-dollar industry that has just been totally just diluted with money.
Where's that money come from?
So, yeah.
Fans.
The fans. So I'm going to shout out to all the fans out there. All we can do is just wait and hope that it doesn't destroy this game that we love.
Yep.
That's my
I like that a lot, too, because, we got a lot of people out there, a lot of footy fetish fiends
Yeah.
who actually hit us up on Insta, by the way.
Yeah.
One of which we got to get on the show. 16-bit prick. He's
your shout
over in London. Yeah, you know what? He's our shout out today.
All right.
The 16-bit prick. He loves him some old school video games, some wrestling. He's an old wrestling guy. Big Arsenal fan. He thinks this is also nonsense. He hits me up randomly from time to time on our Insta, like just like direct message too.
We got
It's like
we gotta
all the
get him
damn
on.
time. He wants to come on for sure. A little side shout out to Thomas Pusateri, Pussy T, Gunner, or excuse me, not the Gunner, the Hammer. The Hammer. We got guns and hammers now. We're getting tools and weapons on this fucking footy fetish show. Pussy T, you're coming on soon. 16-bit prick. Love you, man. Your shit's fucking phenomenal. It's always funny. I need a shout out from Zach. Go on the spot.
Oh man, Hugh got the fans. That was gonna be mine. So I'm gonna leave it to the man of the hour, Florentino Perez, that gets my shout out for maybe my favorite quote I've seen in a while. This was a quote from him today on why they formed a Super League. The game was losing interest from fans. We need a change. 16 to 24-year-old fans don't have an interest in football. Football needs to adapt to the new generations now. What?
Give the 16-year-olds Adderall.
Shows how far out of touch he is with the fans. To be honest,
How does that? The game.
it
you
really
have
shows
more
how far out of touch he
goals.
is.
If you wanted to make it about VAR, I would have been in with you, but
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
He's out of touch. He's so far out of touch
Yeah.
with what actually goes down on the ground. You know, he doesn't have boots on the floor. He's up in his fucking castle.
But what's crazy
Watching
is
from
he's
above.
got a legion of. Again, it's the crazy part to me is the teams that are involved in this. Yeah, there's my shout out. Sorry, guys.
No,
Bring down the room.
We appreciate shout outs that are more of like a negative shout out. We
Tell 'em how
appreciate
it
those.
is. Exactly.
We love those the most.
Because that's so trash. No hand on the pulse, Hugh.
Yeah,
Right.
no finger on the pulse.
That's right. Finger.
Yeah.
Fingering the pulse. Alex, what you got, my friend?
I'm gonna give a shout out to my team.
I knew it.
They're staying
knew it.
strong. You know, they
Best
took,
team in Europe.
they took that golden ticket and ripped it up in front of their faces. They said, "Fuck you. This is stupid.
Mhm.
I don't want to be a part of this. We're gonna, them and Dortmund staying in the Bundesliga at least for the time being, and they will go about their days as they did before this whole stupid league started. I think it'll be interesting. Again, like I said in the beginning of this episode, that I loved seeing Bayern play, these big name teams in Champions League, but it's still a competition, and anyone can go out and compete. So I'll still get to see them compete against some pretty big teams if for some reason all these other guys don't get to be a part of Champions League moving forward. But I think that's a slim chance there.
I like
Well
that
said.
shout out to
Yeah,
and,
I like
and
it.
hey, shout out to PSG as well as Bayern for
And
saying fuck you.
Dortmund.
Shut up your ass and Dortmund as well. So cool for them.
Yeah.
Those teams. It seems to me like these 12 teams need some acai. Where could they get that at?
Nova
spot?
Acai, and actually, I'm glad you brought that up. I have an
Yeah.
amazing story. Real quick, my painter is Brazilian, and of course, as soon as I found that out, I was like, "Do you guys like acai?" And they're like, "Yeah." I was like, "Wait here." Immediately ran upstairs, got him some acai, and we start chatting. Later, find out that this guy is a pastor at his church, and he's got a huge Brazilian following at his church. So he's like, "Yeah, I'll tell my congregation about it. I'm sure they would love to have some acai. This is delicious." So, of course, last night, someone hits me up on WhatsApp. Oi, fala inglês? Like, yeah. Or fala português? I was like, yeah, I speak Portuguese. They're like, can we get some acai? Like, sure, I'll drive it over. It was in deep Araby.
Oh shit!
Like, it's Araby St. Bernard. I was like deep into St. Bernard Parish. So I show up at their door.
The parish.
Yeah, the parish. I show up at their door, and I'm like, oi, boa noite, how you doing? Like, simple, like, easy Portuguese conversation. And, of course, being Brazilian, they just fucking welcome me in their home. They're like, come on in, come talk, come see. And I'm like, all right, well, if I'm going to come in, you guys have to taste this, right? And the whole time, they don't speak English. They're like, you have to speak Portuguese. So I'm like, okay, while I've got you, have you tried any acai in the city What are your thoughts? They're like, oh, we've been to this place, we hate it, it's watered down. We've been to this place, we hate it, it's watered down. Your stuff, though, by the way, is amazing. We're going to tell all of our friends about it. You have the best acai in the city. And I was like,
Yes.
I just got the stamp of approval from some official Brazilians that I have got the best acai in the city.
This is
Try
like
it.
a Friday
I'm
night at
telling
Hugh's
you.
house. Seriously.
Try this acai out. It is delicious. Every Brazilian that has tried it has said, this is it. You've got it, my friend. So
I ate some this morning. Got
me too.
Got me a good morning.
it's a great morning meal because it gives you a great like energy boost.
I was ready to fucking go.
Yeah, it's a fantastic breakfast meal. Lunch, I also eat it as like a kind of afternoon snack as well. Loaded with nutrients, but I'll talk about that another time. So Nova Acai, yeah.
I think
out.
now you can add on your packaging. Nova Acai, best Acai in the city.
Dude, I
Yep.
like it. I'm gonna do that. I've been looking to make some stickers for
Also,
my
if you need
containers.
a painter,
Yeah, no, definitely. See, and
Hook
that's
the
the
guys
thing.
up.
I keep telling these Brazilians, I'm like, this is y'all's food. Y'all get discounts. If you guys want to be business partners, let me know. I'm only accepting Brazilian business partners, so that's the way it works.
well, you make sure you tell them if they need to follow the Footy Fetish Show. It needs to be
Yeah.
on Insta,
Oh,
Twitter for the Twatters.
I told them.
Facebook. We're on. You on
Yeah,
Facebook.
Facebook.
We on Google Play, all that shit. Man, it's a fun episode. I was like,
this is a really good one.
I was working out all day. I was like, oh man, this is gonna be. Like I didn't know where to start, but it ended up
didn't.
being awesome.
Yeah, it
and
did.
thank you guys for your time. I know we're taking time out of your. We took an hour and a half out of your time, out of your lives, So we appreciate that, guys. And I know it's not the first time we have. I know you guys love doing it, but still, we need to throw you some appreciation. We do appreciate that. You guys are bringing beautiful content to the show.
Yeah, we really appreciate.
We
that.
could just bring like some asshole on, like myself or Hugh, and we just talk about stupid shit. No, it's great. Thank you guys. We appreciate that. I have nothing else to add. Do you?
This has been the Footy Fetish Show.
Where the fetish is real, the footy is soccer.
Hey.
Peace out.
Boy Scouts. Thanks,
Peace
y'all.
them out.
All right. Stopped recording on Zencaster. Hang tight. Make sure we got it all. We got it all. It's in the cloud. And it looks like the GarageBand is working.